I'm saying at least once a week, go drive it.
Now, see, since we're all into this conversation, I just went ahead and actually started recording. But no, a car's designed to be used. That's its purpose in life. It's to be used. A painting's designed to be hung on a wall and looked at. A book's designed to be laid out and read. Even books on display at the Smithsonian that are open so you can read them and utilize them. A car, when it's static in a museum, is not doing what it was designed to do. It's improperly being displayed.
I agree. Best
But
thing for a car.
we've had this discussion before that we still take cars out and drive them occasionally for events, for significant, reasons. We don't, yes, we do a shutdown process on them, but that doesn't mean that they're dead. It doesn't mean that they're done being used the way they are. They are shut down properly for preservation and then brought back to operable condition when needed.
Yeah, but the museums I've been affiliated with, they just, when they need to use them, they get them out, put gas in them, start them, and run them, and then they put them back. That's the way a car's supposed to be used.
And at our museum,
you overcomplicate things.
We pull them off the floor, we put oil and water and gas in them, and then we drive them, which is 2 more steps.
Yeah, I think you have about 15 more proper steps that your cars go through than certain places.
No, I'm with you. I think they should be driven, and that's the worst thing for a car to do is just sit there. Which I'm dealing more on the hot rod side of things, where they sit in somebody's garage without a battery tender on them, and yada yada yada, and they just deteriorate.
Well, why don't we say this? Why don't we say, because you got and I get in this discussion a lot with people, and I think it needs to be clarified. When a car sits improperly, it's bad for it. But if it's cared for properly and stored properly, it is not as bad for it as parking it out in the barn and letting it sit.
Yes and no. You can't prevent gaskets from dry rotting and rubber seals from dry rotting. When they're sitting, they're collecting dust. The dust is pulling the moisture out of them. And I don't care if you've got it in a bubble. I don't care where you got it. It's going to get dust on it, and it's going to deteriorate. Where it seems like the ones going down the road that you drive at least once or twice a week seem to last longer. I mean, just being at the shop, when we built a really high end car, like I'm going to say the Dart, for example, car was in the shop for 3.5 years. During the fabrication stage of that car, we bought all new windshield rubber, all new door rubber, every piece of rubber for that car was bought, installed in bare metal to make sure everything was going to clear, everything was good. By the time we got ready to put that car together, so these gaskets and rubber pieces and all this stuff was roughly 3.5 years old, been sitting in a climate controlled shop. Most of it had already started cracking. We had to go back and rebuy every piece of plastic or rubber that was going on that car because it had just sucked the moisture out of it and it had sat there and dry rotted.
Well, you got to get into the chemistry of rubber on that one because it doesn't matter where that rubber was stored, the off gassing of the chemicals that are involved in plastics, the way rubbers are produced with cross linking and all of that. That's what in conservation or and in even in the insurance world they call inherent vice. Those are things that are going to degrade over time no matter how well you take care of them, how much you use them. That is just the nature of plastic and rubber.
But after that car had been built for 3 years, all of that stuff was fine. I mean, it wasn't dry rotted, it wasn't cracked. So, I mean, I don't know what the difference is. Whether, I mean, okay, well, I don't know. I mean, it was just sitting there back in its plastic bag, put back on the shelf, wasn't messed with, just sitting there.
There's a big part of it. There's a big part
Right,
of it.
right.
You had it back in a plastic bag, which that plastic bag was also off-gassing other chemicals that were likely degrading the quality of the rubber or the material in it.
So the plastic bag deteriorated the rubber. What it came from the factory in.
If things sit too long, dissimilar products like that off gas, they damage each other. Think about this. When you lay plastic on a car, like a piece of the plastic you use when you're painting to cover a car.
Oh yeah.
And you let that sit on that paint, no matter how new or old that paint is,
it'll imprint.
That plastic eats into that paint, doesn't it?
It'll imprint it.
Because of the off-gassing of that plastic. And that's what that plastic bag was doing to that rubber. That plastic was off-gassing and degrading the rubber. It's all about the chemistry of it. Man.
So why do they sit on the shelf for 4 or 5 years in that plastic bag and they don't deteriorate? But
do you know they sit on the shelf for 4 to 5 years?
I'm sure some of it does. How many people's buying rubbers for 65 Dodge Darts? Not that many people.
If your Dodge Dart needs a rubber, well, let's just
different plastics too. The thin sheeting that you're throwing over is designed for temporary.
Right.
And
we put the stuff back in the plastic bags that they came in, or whatever they come in. A lot of them was in plastic bags and taped up to try to put it back to the spot it was before. And we pulled them out, and they were dry rotted. They were cracking.
Well, I'm going to say, welcome everybody, no driving gloves. This is what happens when we go to this new non-edited format. This is the pre-show that happens and usually gets cut out. Got some feedback on the new layout. No complaints so far. So we're going to keep going with the crutch words, long pauses, and the nice casual conversations. And obviously,
I hate it.
Obviously, you got all three of us, at least for a while. Sounds like Derek's going to be quitting the show there. Yeah, as he smirks and giggles. They see. Eventually, we'll get this regular enough we can start doing a video feed, and you guys can join us live and watch our antics, me with my eyes closed and my arms flailing away, and Derek smirks, and Will's cat licking his head.
Dog.
Dog.
Oh, dog, yeah.
While I'm looking at my phone.
Yeah, most of the dings and apple sounds are Will.
Yeah.
Well, and tonight it's going to be Derek sending Will all the Canadian Conservation Institute information on rubbers and plastics.
What do the Canadians know? I mean,
I'm sure I can dig up some AIC stuff too. So
don't waste your time.
So since we're talking about articles and everything, I actually posted to the Facebook page, and I took credit for it just in case you guys disagreed with the new Mustang Mach-E. I think it's a brilliant business plan by Ford. I think it's a wonderful idea. It's got a lot of people talking and a lot of people buzzing. I mean, if they came out and called it the Ford Focus E or the SHO-E, nobody's going to talk about it, but throw the Mustang out there, make these people mad. They'll throw a fit, but 2 or 3 years down the road, I think the Mustang guy is going to sit there when his wife or his fiance or his girlfriend, because he's got a Mustang. I don't know how many of them stay that married, and wants an SUV. That's going to be one he's going to think about because it's got the Mustang name on, kind of like the Porsche driver did when Porsche introduced an SUV, and kind of like Lamborghini drivers are
Yeah,
doing.
but they didn't call it the 911.
But they're creating a brand. They called it a Porsche. I mean,
So Ford's new brand is Mustang?
yeah, I see it coming and being built as a sub brand, kind of like
Ram?
was floated as a idea for Corvette. And you said Ram. That's kind of exactly it. Ram was a version of the Dodge truck, and now it's become the nomenclature for all the Fiat trucks and vans. We should have the Fiat ProMaster, but no, it's the Ram ProMaster. When we end up getting to a Dakota type vehicle, instead of being Dodge, it'll be Ram. That's affiliated. That's kind of, to me, a name in the Fiat group, or FCA, whatever we want to call them this week. So I take it, Will, you're a little bit against the Ford business moves and thinking on that. You wouldn't have named their Tesla Model X competitor, not X. What is it? X competitor.
Yeah, the X.
Well, first off,
Oh, here we go.
Oh no,
I've never been a fan of crossover SUVs. I'm a V8 or sometimes V6 rear wheel drive. If it's an SUV or a truck, that's what it needs to be. And I'm trying not to be closed minded here. I'm really not, because I'm not a fan of closed minded people. But man, come on. Stick to your roots. I get you want to build an electric vehicle and compete with, Tesla and everybody else. But don't call it a freaking Mustang. Really? I mean, call it something else. Come up with a new name, something catchy, whatever. And I get why they done it. They're wanting to create a buzz. They're wanting to get people talking. And they have. They have. And, I have heard some positive comments, and I haven't said anything about it to anybody, but, I mean,
Well,
really?
give Ford credit for not naming it another dang F word. I was at the Ford dealer the other day. We're talking Fusion, Focus, Festiva. I don't know which is bigger. Is a Focus or a Festiva the bigger car? I can't keep them straight. I barely can do the Fusion. It's nice Lincoln's going back to names and getting rid of this stupid alphabet soup they use. It drives me crazy. I can't go look at a Cadillac because I can't keep the alphabet soup straight. But Ford, with all their F-150 and F-250 and, like I said, Focus, Fusion, and then you get into the
apparently the rest of the world don't really give a crap either, because they're not even selling them anymore. Or they're not going to be selling them anymore.
Well, it's not even the world. It's the U.S. I mean, car sales are friggin' down to 10 to 20% of the market.
But they're actually going to sell some of the cars they're not selling here overseas. But let's go to the I can do a little bit better on the Escape. EcoSport, Escape, Edge, Explorer, Excursion. Do we still have an Excursion?
No, I don't think they're doing the Excursion.
I think it's gone.
Then what's the big Ford? See, I can't even remember the name of the big Ford.
The Explorer is the biggest one now.
No,
that's like a Chevy Suburban.
No.
Or is it the Expedition?
That's it, the Expedition.
Yeah, the Excursion is gone. The Expedition is still there.
Yeah, they renamed the Excursion the Expedition XL. That's what they did.
This is where they messed up with the Mustang, and so, but here it is. 10 to 20% of the market is cars right now. So the Mustang is in that. They needed another crossover. They need a crossover SUV, but they messed up with the name. I mean, look at the thing. Think about it. They clearly messed up. This should be the new Edsel.
There you go. I agree with you 100%. Call it the freaking Edsel.
I've seen comparisons of it as actually the Etzel, the Mustang.
No, really?
The
I haven't seen that yet.
the Mustang Mach-E. Some of these negative people are thinking it's going to collapse. It's going to fall apart in a couple of years. Not the car and its reliability, just the whole concept, and it'll get
The whole idea.
But then
I joke. I'm joking about the Etzel, but really, it's like John said here, and Will, I understand your point, but if you think about it, look at what just happened in the Corvette world. There were a lot of people when Corvette announced what the 8th generation Corvette was going to be, a mid-engine platform car. That's not a Corvette. They should change the name. That's not a Corvette. That should be a different line of car, and they should build a front-engine Corvette. And
that ain't even in the same ballpark, though.
But it is, because all the same comments are being said.
No, it's still a V8 rear-wheel drive car, 2-door sports car.
But
they went from a V8 rear-wheel drive 2-door sports car to a freaking electric soccer mom van-looking thing. Come on.
Body styling aside, and I don't want Eric or Derek to comment, but some of the rumors I've read is possibly the Z06 or ZR1 versions of the Corvette will go the way of the Ford GT and be like a 6-cylinder twin turbocharged hybrid. So they'll have electric power and it'll still be in the Corvette. So if they built the Mustang Mach-E and it looked just like the Mustang, now, throw the SUV out, look just like the Mustang, but we have an all-electric Mustang, would we be as upset?
I'm good with that.
But it's not a V8.
It's front engine, whatever you want to call it, electric engine.
No, it'd be corner engines because they put the electric motors on the wheels.
Okay, well, as long as okay, still, if it's a 2-door sports car, you can call it a Mustang. All right. What do you think Lee Iacocca's thinking?
It's not a sports car.
Lee Iacocca's the
Mustang is a pony car.
I've been arguing that all week. It's not a muscle car. No, the Mustang's a pony car. And the Lee Iacocca contrast, that's the only one I've given in to somebody. I said, Lee Iacocca's probably rolling over in his grave. Is somebody made the point, what would Henry Ford say? And I felt Henry Ford would be all for it, because Henry Ford was all about naming something one thing and having 18 different vehicles out of it. He proved it with the Model T Roadster, Touring, Sedan, Doctor's Coupe, pickup truck, sedan, not sedan delivery, whatever the wood ones, depot hacks. I mean,
they were all based on the same chassis.
Nobody said the Mach-E really. I look for that becoming a universal chassis in Ford. So
I want to know who's got a train going by their house.
I do. I do quite often during the show, and it rarely translates to the podcast.
That's Lee Iacocca on that train going, what the hell is going on?
Hey, you know what? That train is a hybrid, diesel electric, okay?
We can get into that whole
future
thing, because that's the way RVs should be. But I'll get into that after I say the other guy who now is probably rolling over in his grave, unless there's money in it, and that's the gentleman who's now company, or late gentleman whose company's now announced the Mustang Mach-E Shelby. And Shelby's announced that they'll be doing a Shelby edition of the Mach-E.
Woo, we're going to boost up them electric motors and put some wheels on it.
Going to put D cells in it instead of C cells. No, on this train thing, I've always felt that RV, somebody should, nobody's ever done it, and I probably said it on the podcast before, put electric motors on the RV, make the motor a generator, and let it run that way. You can plug it in, recharge it overnight, go until it, the battery's low, and then the diesel generator kicks on and runs the RV. It's just my opinion. Kind of goes along with the Chevy Volt thing, but then again, the Chevy Volt's going away this year, and
I still ain't sold on this electric car crap anyway. I mean, they're complaining about, pollution and all this stuff. But what's going to happen 40 years from now when we got to figure out something to do with all these batteries and all this other toxic crap? I mean,
Well, I guess then we'd have to start talking about the degradation of plastics and chemicals, and how the chemistry of things like rubber and plastics degrade. And you talking about that, Will?
see, they also don't.
no, there's rubber and plastic is the main thing in a battery.
Well, there's a lot of plastic in it.
Well, there's a lot of research and development, and that's what the car side of the argument always hides. And I'm sorry.
We'll be going back to the internal combustion engine because the batteries are bad.
I'm being the green guy here, but they're actually working on kind of a recyclable battery that will last indefinitely, and then when it does fail, most of the components can be disassembled and rebuilt into new batteries. And then I haven't read too much on it, but I've read a few articles, and I've heard some car people that own electric cars on various podcasts and that discuss it.
We'll never see an indefinite battery as long as we're alive.
We don't have indefinite cars. I mean, I agree. A gasoline motor needs gas every 300 miles.
I agree, but all right, so maybe you can rebuild the battery, I guess is what you're saying. But
yeah, and then that's what they're looking at there. They're getting the chargers faster and faster. I mean, can you now not charge a Tesla in 30 minutes at one of their superchargers? And to be honest, excuse me, I'm sorry.
See, look, there you go. They had to bring something cool for an internal combustion engine and make it electric, a supercharger. That's for top fuel dragsters, folks. Not for charging the car up.
It's not a supercharger. It's a super charger.
But well, we've got, I get what Will's saying now, because I was going to go down the road of electric superchargers, electric power steering pumps, electric, everything's going electric. But they've got these chargers that, will charge a car in 30 minutes. And when I stop for fuel, I'm stopping usually for 12 or 15 minutes. And the 30 minutes would probably be good, because then I might actually stop and sit down and eat and be able to enjoy a little bit of my trip. Will would be able to stop with his 3500 dually and recharge it, take a break, and save $1 or $2 on gas. Derek?
Well, and think about this. I mean, Will, you're thinking, and I love internal combustion engines. I'm also, I like anything. Electric, steam, I don't care, whatever. If it moves, it's fun and I enjoy it. But, there's a lot of development that still needs to happen in the electric car world. We're breaking ground, and we're doing good things, and no pun intended by saying ground there. But
we're ruining the ground.
we turn of the century, late 1800s, early 1900s, electric vehicles were very popular. They went by the wayside because fossil fuels became cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, so on and so forth, and all the things that went into that. There's a lot more behind it. I'm not going to bore everybody. But remember that when the internal combustion engine started out, it was a single cylinder that they had difficulties figuring out how to get the fuel into it, how to meter the fuel, how to get the air-fuel mixture right, the stoichiometry situation, all of that. And it took years to develop, and we are still developing the internal combustion engine to this day, 100 plus years later, to make it better and more efficient. So why can we not accept and admit that we are at the beginnings of a revolution in electric power, and we need to give it time to get it to be what it can be, because that's what we allowed the internal combustion engine to do.
And
Will, huh?
In reading some certain things this week, and we're right on, and I'm really anxious to see what's going to happen in the next 12 months. Put Audi's new electric on the side. Put the new Taycan on the side. We're now to a point where we're going to start having 5 and 6 year old Tesla Model S's out there, and a lot of people have said that the Tesla Model S was not built for longevity. I'm one of them, really, that says, I'm questioning if this thing's going to last. Because, like, they have these big, massive touch screens in them. That's not a touch screen that's went through all the development that a touch screen in your Ford has gone through, or your Chevy or whatever. That's a consumer-grade tablet that's literally glued into the Tesla. So how is it going to put up with the heat and heat cycles and temperature changes and abuse and vibration and stuff after 7, 8, 9 years? There's already people complaining about the availability of parts and people not caring. But there's also a contingent that I've just really beginning to learn about, but I know they've been in the press, of Tesla Model S's out there with 400,000 miles on them that have had virtually zero maintenance because there's nothing to wear out. You plug them in, you drive them, the battery goes dead, you plug them in, you drive them. You have a little technical issue, you email Tesla, they send an over-the-air update, you're done. It's kind of interesting because really there's no moving parts. The things that are there to break are, here we are back to mechanical. And I was looking at a car the other day with Zara, and, I kind of made the comment that the only thing, it was a Lexus, and I'm not worried about the mechanicals. Toyota mechanicals are as reliable. Those pistons will go up and down as long as I'll be on this planet. But what I'm worried about are, all the electronics. And those things go bad. It seems the Tesla might have that worked out, and now we're back to the doors falling off and windows not going up and down because the tracks and that wear. So I'm more and more becoming pro-electric. I still like my gasoline stuff, but I a couple of years ago went and looked at Chevy Volt in a really serious thought process and I'm surprised we don't have a few more of these cars that are like the Volt. I think the Volt's the only one that really does it. I mean, in that it has a battery pack, and it runs off the battery pack when the battery pack goes dead. The motor turns on, but it doesn't drive the car. It recharges the battery. Kind of like the trains we somehow got onto the subject with. But every other electric is, like a hybrid, the Prius hybrid, not the Prius plug-in. The electric or the motor helps generate some battery power and regenerative braking, but the electric motor's an assist. So now we're having all these electric car conversations.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't really know enough about them to have much of an opinion other than if I like it, the idea, or don't like the idea. And I guess I don't like the idea because I've done no research really on them at all. And I'm not even entertaining the thought of looking at one or buying one or anything like that. I'm not going to say I'll never own an electric vehicle. I may, you never know, but not in my near future. I can promise you that.
Well, I guess I'm pro. We'll summarize this conversation real quick. I'm pro Mach-E. Will's against it. I can't remember where Derek stands.
I'm all for it. Like I said, my degree is history and the history of technology. And as I've said, we have to have this happening to make progress into the future. So I'm all for studying electric cars,
Yeah.
building the
But
infrastructure we need.
are you
Oh my
pro
God. What do you
calling it?
want, Will?
Are you pro calling it a Mustang? A
Oh, is
four
that what we're
door,
talking about?
a four door soccer mom electric vehicle being called a Mustang. Are you pro that or not?
I don't know if I have strong feelings on it, to be honest.
I mean, I guess Ford can do whatever Ford wants to do. I'm
It's a
not a big
name. Like what?
I'm not a big Mustang fan anyway. So, I mean, maybe they're just trying to get, something that don't hunt ditches as much and call it a Mustang. I don't know.
Well, and I have a problem everybody calling the thing an SUV because it's a crossover, and this goes back to one of the topics that's on our list of subjects to cover, but it's going to require a little bit of homework. But in properly naming body styles of cars, because the Mustang as it's presented, the Mach-E, is what BMW and Mercedes are calling four-door coupes. The sloping roof line, four doors that kind of look two-door-ish. So Mercedes and BMW get away with calling them four-door coupes, and people are buying these M6 four-door coupes, like crazy. Why does Ford get in trouble? They have built a four-door coupe Mustang. I don't see the problem there. Okay.
I'm Googling. Has anyone seen a picture? And I'm Googling because I have not seen one yet. Have they parked one next to an actual Mustang? So you can see the actual size comparison, so on and so forth. I am not finding any pictures of that.
I don't know if I have seen that.
I think that would be interesting just to see what the size difference is, what the overall, kind of differences are in height, length, width, so on and so forth. And here's the other thing, going to what Will's talking about. Is it, Will, you're saying it's a problem calling it a Mustang, let's call it, philosophically or theoretically, whatever word we want to use here. But all of the styling cues used on this vehicle for brand identity, if you want to call it that, everything is Mustang. So is it not appropriate to call it a Mustang if it has all of the same, character elements that the Mustang has as brand identity? Same, I'm looking at it, the same taillights, a lot of the same character lines through the body, very similar front end character lines. It's all about brand identity in these things. So to call this something other than a Mustang would almost be wrong because you'd be renaming the character lines of the Mustang.
I have found two pictures, kind of like you're discussing here, thumbing. Unfortunately, they're obviously taken by Ford, and they're taken from strategic angles. I'm going to have to email them to you, and I'll be sure to get them on the.
Well, yeah, I've seen like weird, like, oh, the Mustang's off in the back on an angle, and this, I'm saying literally side by side, sized up.
Yeah, I've got that. I saw that one, and then I found one with 5 of them that's got the E in the middle, and then real Mustangs off to the side.
Oh, yep.
And I just
saw that one.
I saw one from overhead, and I just came across one that has a kind of side view straight on. My Google's going to go crazy because I think I have about 32 tabs open. I'm amazed we're still able to record. No, now I'm just starting to get into pictures of real Mustangs. But you're right. I think it'd be to Ford's advantage, or somebody who's much more computer, Photoshop, tech savvy than I, to try to overlay one of these things. When is and this is going to sound bad, when is this Los Angeles Auto Show, or is it going on right now that this thing's supposed to debut at?
LA Auto Show, is that usually December?
I thought it. I was just wondering because Kia introduced a new.
Nope. It starts tomorrow, November 22nd through December 1st. Yep.
Yeah,
So
I think
here we
Ford,
go.
I think Ford is just reaching. I think with all the new buzz of the new Corvette, Ford wanted to come out with something to for people to start talking about Ford, just like we've done this entire episode. Just like we did. Did we do an entire episode talking about the new Corvette?
We touched on it a little bit in an episode, but
I don't think we've done a
I don't
whole
know.
episode on it. And this wasn't even supposed
We
to be
can
a
if
whole
you want to.
episode. But, I mean, personally, that's just kind of what I think. I think the new Corvettes caught the whole automotive world by storm, and everybody knew it was coming. Is the crazy thing, and Ford's just trying to. They're reaching to get people talking about it or something. I don't know. It just.
I can agree.
I look at this thing and I don't even think Mustang. Okay, they took a Focus or a whatever the little crossover thing is. The what is it?
Fusion, EcoSport, Edge.
No,
Flex.
not the Flex. I don't know. Whatever it is, they changed it up a little bit. Put some, put 3 taillights in the back, put a horse on it, and call it a Mustang. I mean, I see nothing on it that is Mustang, period. The headlights, the taillights, whatever. You can put, put Corvette taillights in a Camaro. Does that make it a Corvette? No. I mean, it'd be like putting Corvette taillights on a Tahoe and calling it a Corvette.
Well,
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, were you talking about back in the day with the Falcon? And because also remember, the Ford Mustang was built off the Ford Falcon. So
right. Why didn't they call it the Falcon? Bring the Falcon name back. I mean, they had four-door
They just killed it over in Australia.
Right. They had 4-door Falcons. So
okay, well here let's take this back.
There's the perfect example. The same chassis, different name.
Exactly. Now let's take it back to another car that was unveiled. I don't remember how long ago, within like 20 years here. But what about when the new Charger came out? The Dodge Charger was a 2-door muscle car. When it came back, it was a 4-door sedan.
Right. They killed it and brought it back.
And see, I still have problems with it being a 4-door. I'm sitting here looking at a picture. I paused on this blue Mach-E, dead, low shot, straight on front end. And I'm going to go back to, I don't mind calling it a Mustang, but Will might have a point. Do you know what this thing should have been called? Because it's dead, but it also, it has a holding or a name that people recognize and kind of recognize with performance, but goes 4-door. And that would have been to just flat call this an SHO.
Right.
I mean,
okay. All right. I'll give you that.
You could, I'm looking at this front shot, and other than the horse in the center of the grill, it's got the headlights on it. It's got a black mesh grill. The front shot of this thing looks damn near what my SHO does from that angle.
So wait,
wait, 100%, John.
Wait. So I think we just had a breakthrough, because don't forget it's electric. So it would need to be the SHO-E.
SHO-E.
Or the shoe.
It kind of looks like a shoe.
Well, you have to shoe a horse. Yep, Mustang, horse. You got to shoe a horse. Boom.
Nope.
Marketing ploy.
I don't mind calling it a Mustang, but I might have to fall in and do some arguing that this should have been called the SHO. But let's go back. Derek went back a couple of years in history. Let's go back to this point in time, and you guys might not remember it as much because you probably were only 8, 9 years old at the time. There was this car introduced on a totally new chassis that was to replace the Mustang. And Mustang people threw a fit. And by the time it hit the market in 1988, it had totally changed its name to the Probe, and the Mustang was sold alongside of it. Could this be something that Ford's thrown out there, knowing they're going to change the name? They'll get a ton of press, and maybe by the time it hits the market in 2021, it's an SHO or something along those lines? Or do you think the people that have ordered it this week, because you can order it, would be upset that it's no longer called a Mustang?
I think if they're already taking orders for it, they're not changing the name.
Yeah, that one shot really makes me think of this thing as an SHO. But
well, if the name changes, we'll know Ford was listening to the show.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure Ford listens to the show. Everybody listens to the show. I saw our download numbers. They've exceeded 100.
All right.
I mean,
hey, I thought you said you were buying us all dinner when that happened.
I am, actually.
All right.
McDonald's on me tomorrow night. Be here in Bessemer.
Well, I'm guessing will be there. I will not.
$5 value meals, or the two for $2.50. You can have a McChicken or a McDouble and a small fry, and I'll even throw in a large drink.
You know, I would be fine with them just calling it the Mach-E, not the Mustang Mach-E.
You complain a lot, Will.
Are they going to have a macchiato color?
Ooh. Ooh. That'll be the interior option. Macchiato.
Oh, Lord. Caramel macchiato.
Oh, yes.
Oh, Lord.
Can we get a pumpkin
see,
spice?
There you go.
Can we get a pumpkin spice macchiato, please?
This is perfect for what we're talking about. Go get you mocha choca bull crap and go get your new electric Mustang and go to your soccer game. Okay? Go to Starbucks.
Why does soccer get picked on so much?
I know. I'm feeling pretty run down here.
I mean, I've sat there and solidly watched and been entertained for less than a minute in my entire life watching soccer. Why do we pick on it so much?
Because it's soccer. It's not American. Football, baseball. That's where we're at, not soccer.
Well, should we play football on grass or AstroTurf?
AstroTurf's not a thing anymore.
What is it? What do they play on?
It's what do they call that stuff?
Fake grass.
Fake grass, turf. Yeah, it's a lot more like real grass now than carpet, green carpet.
They just put more foam in it, so it's kind of cushier, didn't they?
It's actually rubber pellets, ground up tires.
Yep,
is what it is.
Well,
You can't grind up damn batteries from your electric car and make a football field out of it.
40 years
Yeah,
from
but those
now,
electric
maybe.
cars still use tires. They can be ground up.
Just think, you could grind those batteries up, and since they are electrically conductive, you probably could do something that would surpass the LED lighting at whatever the Alabama stadium's called. And
Hey, Alabama didn't start that crap.
and
That was started in the NFL.
and illuminate the field.
Are we going to talk about cars?
Sometimes it's good to have a podcast where we don't talk about cars. But we're like 45 minutes. We're like
I don't want to be I don't want to be a sports podcast. I
A
don't like
lot of your
sports.
football fields have car parts in them.
Good for them.
There's your connection.
One of the coolest cars from the 70s was that little baseball hat thing they used to drive the pitcher out to the mound. Well,
no, the coolest vehicle in all of sports is the Zamboni. Get over it.
No, it's the Rambling Wreck from Georgia Tech.
No. Any Zamboni.
No.
Have you ever ridden on a Zamboni? I've ridden on a Zamboni. It's pretty freaking sweet.
You just like saying the word Zamboni. Shut up.
I always liked watching them, when I'm in a hockey game and a little bit of water behind it, how pretty the ice looks. Yeah, they're kind of artistic. But in Derek's world, they'd keep it off to the side and only use it like every other winter or something, so it didn't rust or fail.
Well, yeah, you got to run water through it, so you got to make sure it's dry and not going to rust. Come on. Jeez.
Make sure the tires don't dry right now.
Well, we never got to our real topic tonight, but we're 45 minutes into this thing. I think we had a spirited debate. Do we want to keep going, or do we want to call it a night? I mean, we jumped into this.
Well, I've already changed your mind. It shouldn't be called the Mustang. We might as well keep going so I can change Derek's.
No,
I don't care what it's called.
I don't mind.
Like I said, I think it should be called the SHO-E.
Yeah, I don't mind.
I think we all agree it should be called the SHO-E. Can we all agree on that?
The SHO-E.
Yeah.
No, I much prefer to call it the SHO-E.
Okay. All right, fine. We'll give in and make it the SHO-E.
SHO-E. All right, done.
I still
Can you drive it to a Shoney's?
Do you know where there's a Shoney's at?
I just saw one recently. I don't remember where. I was traveling somewhere. I was like, is that a Shoney's? They still exist?
I was thinking that too, so it must be somewhere off 65 or something.
It must be, yeah.
Believe it or not, there's still one in Gadsden, Alabama.
Maybe
well, that's not hard to believe.
Maybe that's where I saw it. I've been up your way quite often lately.
I appreciate you stopping by.
Well, I'm never quite there. I mean, yesterday I was Aniana.
He was like 2 minutes away, and
I was
that 2 minutes.
Boaz, Guntersville, then Decatur, Hartsville, and Arab.
Hartsel.
Hartsel, and I know it's Arab, not Arab, but
yeah.
But
man, I wish we could have talked about this Saudi Arabia thing a little bit, but
why don't we hit that next week?
Well, because it's going on right now.
Well, what Will's referring to is there's one hell of an auction going on in Saudi Arabia and car show with a lot of big celebrities, and a lot of happenings out of it. But we'll wait till next week, to talk anything about it. I want to see what the outcome is. Having an auction and such in Saudi Arabia, does it really make a difference?
Yeah, we'll have more information on what we talked about during our pre-show too, I think. So
exactly. We'll have results, news, all that next week. Yeah.
I mean, I've already got some proof on some stuff that's happened that's negative. But I don't have a lot of proof.
Well, we don't want you to lose your sources or anything, so there's a teaser for next week. We definitely, if we can, we'll touch on what's happening overseas. We might get to the topic we were going to do tonight.
I thought we were going to move right into that right now. We still got like 8 minutes. Come on.
Nope, I think we're just going to let that opportunity go away and maybe try to grab it another day. Ha, ha, ha. So, with that, I think I'm going to say goodnight, guys. I'll let it record, and you guys can record, and I'll just edit off after you sign off.
There'll be a lot of editing. I'll just go ahead and tell you that.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about going to bed, brah.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Some of us kind of sort of have real jobs. which I might fill you in on in 2 weeks.
Two of the three of us, and we can pick out which one of us doesn't have a real job.
Oh, I do have some pretty big news I'd like to announce right quick.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
have a good night, everybody, and we'll talk next week.
Wait, I don't want Will to announce this news because I'm sitting talking to Zara last Friday, and she goes, "Aren't you going to go to Hoax Bluff?" And I said, "Why?" Well, there was something on the No Driving Gloves Facebook page. I don't remember Will ever saying anything to me about it.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. But anyway, Bryce Thomas Radiator in Gadsden, Alabama, who we use exclusively for our radiators.
I know those guys.
Yep. They have just bought U.S. Radiator out of California. So they bought their entire plant in California and have moved it to Gadsden. Actually got to tour it today. They will be stamping copper brass tanks and doing a complete copper brass line and keeping the U.S. Radiator name through their copper brass deal. And it is a hell of a facility. They bought a new building and moved the entire U.S. Radiator operation to Gadsden. So very exciting news in the radiator industry there.
Why don't you see if one of those guys will, sit down with us one night, talk a little bit about radiators? And to be honest, it would be so cool to go up there with a camera. And we do have a YouTube channel. We occasionally put videos on YouTube and Facebook. I know normally the podcast is just released audio only on YouTube, but if they're willing, I'd love to do a little bit of a tour and stuff of the facility, and to me that's cool. And I mean, Gadsden,
absolutely, and their aluminum manufacturing facility, they're only like a mile apart, so we could do the aluminum side and then go do the copper brass side.
Well,
I'm there.
I know you've got a really good relationship with them. I always loved working with them when they were a vendor at the Barber Historic events we put on a few years ago. So, yeah, if we can get that set up, I'd love to go see what they're doing and touch base with them, and might make a day of it and go down the street and visit the other buddy I know that used to come to Barber Historic. So we'll leave him out of this right now, but he builds some pretty cool cars too. So,
talking about Cobras and 36 Fords.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I can line all that up.
Well, let's work on it. I know we're going into Thanksgiving next week, but we'll somehow get a show recorded and out to you guys. And this one drops on. We're recording on Wednesday. It'll drop on Monday. I'm out of here. See, we ended up going all the way to the 50-minute mark. So
there you go. Later, Taylor.
Congratulations. Hey, guys. Zamboni.
Out of here.
Peace.
Zamboni.